Don't miss out on important news. Our videos are being deleted. So if you don't want to be cut off from honest news, take a moment to sign up for our newsletter at newsletter.ntd.com so you don't lose access to NTD. Go to newsletter.ntd.com to sign up for our evening newsletter.
The New York governor's nursing home scandal isn't going away yet. The governor is responding to the scandal once again following a New York Times report. NTD's Allison Lee has the latest.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo Thursday defends himself against new allegations relating to the nursing home scandal, saying his office wanted to ensure accuracy.
Our number one concern, especially in this superheated political environment, was whatever number we put out had to be accurate because it was being criticized by both sides.
The New York Times on Wednesday alleged Cuomo's top aides repeatedly delayed state health officials from releasing nursing home death data over a span of at least 5 months. The outlet says 3 anonymous sources familiar with the matter told the paper Cuomo's top aide Melissa DeRosa called for an audit of the state health department's nursing home investigation last August. Cuomo says this is because the Department of Justice under Trump was investigating the matter. He blames Trump for politicizing the pandemic and creating conflicts between the federal government and Democrat states.
They start an investigation. You know what the lawyers say when an investigation starts from the Department of Justice? Be careful. Be careful because now whatever you say they can use against you.
The anonymous sources also allege that Cuomo's senior advisors rewrote the health department's report on nursing home deaths multiple times. The final report has a lower death toll than the draft. The final report also claims that Cuomo's policy of readmitting infected patients into nursing homes was not the driving force behind deaths there. DeRosa allegedly wrote an email to health officials and Cuomo aides last June saying, "We are getting anxious over here on this report." The New York Attorney General report from January this year concludes that nursing home deaths appear to be underreported by around 50%. According to the New York Times, Cuomo's aides knew about this since last spring. Allison Lee, NTD News.
Former President Trump is dropping hints about a potential third presidential run. This time he shares who he'd consider as his running mate for 2024.
Former President Donald Trump says he would consider Florida Governor Ron DeSantis as a potential running mate if he runs in 2024. Speaking with Fox Business on Thursday, Trump praised the Florida governor and expressed how much his base loves the idea of a Trump-DeSantis ticket, saying, "He's done a great job as governor. I'm saying what I read and what you read. They love that ticket. Certainly Ron would be considered. He's a great guy." If Trump doesn't run, DeSantis is considered a potential GOP frontrunner for 2024. This is largely due to his handling of the pandemic, especially unapologetically lifting virus-related restrictions to keep his state open. On Wednesday, Trump revealed that if he does run in 2024, he won't officially announce it until after the 2022 elections. In an interview on the Dan Bongino show, Trump said, "I think probably the most appropriate time would be right after the 22 election. That's my opinion. I could do it sooner, but I think right after the election would be good, especially if you have a good election." He added he thinks the 2022 election will be great for Republicans. Republicans are hoping to flip both the House and the Senate, and Trump has made clear he plans to play a key role in endorsing and campaigning for candidates.
The Canada-China Relations Committee is calling on the Public Health Agency of Canada and its lab to testify. This is after they failed to provide documents about a shipment of pathogens that the Canadian lab gave to China's Wuhan lab.
A top Canadian health agency is facing questions on why its lab gave deadly virus samples to China's Wuhan virology lab. In 2019, Canada's National Microbiology Lab, or NML, gave samples of the Ebola and Hennepin viruses to the Wuhan lab for research. NML is the country's highest security level 4 lab. It works with some of the deadliest human and animal pathogens. The Canada-China Relations Committee is now calling on NML and the Public Health Agency of Canada to testify. This after they failed to provide documents about the transfer of the viruses. In a previous committee testimony, NML's acting vice president appears to admit that the transfer was made at the request of China's Wuhan lab. Hearing the admission, the committee was stunned.
But that's an astonishing admission. So you're taking a request from a nation that has a history of theft, lies, and accepting that, and data then is transferred based on the word of a government that is known to lie not only to its people but to the world community.
The president of Canada's Public Health Agency and MNL's vice president are set to appear before the Canada-China Relations Committee on May 10th. That's where they'll testify on why they haven't provided relevant documents.
New York City is set to fully reopen this summer. Mayor Bill de Blasio says the city's increase in vaccinations and its decrease in virus cases helped it turn a corner. NTD's Jason Perry tells us more.
All New York City businesses, including restaurants, bars, theaters, and even stadiums, can begin operating at full capacity on July 1st. With over 6 million vaccinations to date and virus cases the lowest since the holiday surge, Mayor de Blasio credited New Yorkers for being able to open the city back up.
You've done so much to fight through this crisis. Now we can see that light at the end of the tunnel.
Mayor de Blasio says he believes at least 400,000 jobs will come back to the city by the end of the year. He appointed restaurateur Danny Meyer as the new chairman of the NYC Economic Development Corporation Board.
One of my hopes was that the city can be an agent to help connect job seekers with those who want to hire, because we are in for one of the biggest recoveries ever.
The announcement to fully reopen New York City comes the day after Governor Andrew Cuomo announced the state will lift the midnight curfew for bars and restaurants. The curfew will be lifted on outdoor dining May 17th and indoor dining on May 31st. Jason Perry, NTD News.
The crime rate is spiking across major cities in the U.S. And now on top of that, police forces are having trouble keeping their numbers up. NTD's Christina Kim speaks to a former Navy officer about why he thinks this is happening.
Police nationwide are dealing with a staffing shortage. The Seattle Police Department says since 2020, more than 200 officers left their jobs, citing an anti-police climate there. Seattle Police Chief Adrian Diaz said they're at record lows in the city, and he says budget cuts also played a role. City Council is considering cutting $5.4 million from the budget. Almost 190 cops in Louisville, Kentucky also left, choosing to retire or resign altogether. This as the Justice Department investigates Louisville police after the death of Breonna Taylor. And Philadelphia is facing similar issues. They're having trouble finding recruits, and droves of officers are retiring. Lieutenant Stephen Rogers says if this continues, there won't be any cops left to enforce the law.
There is a war against the police in this country, and that war is being executed by the Democrat Party that has embraced a socialist communist agenda.
In addition to anti-police sentiment, Lieutenant Rogers says other recent reforms also don't allow police officers to do their jobs. He says the attack against local law enforcement introduces the potential for a national police force.
What we see happening now, you've seen in communist countries all over the country. All over the world. The fact of the matter is the government wants control of everything, including law enforcement. They're going down a dangerous road.
He points to an increased use of the National Guards this year, which he says shows how the police force is being centralized. For example, the National Guard was in D.C. for 3 months after the inauguration, sparking frustration among the people and the troops. Rogers says the issue with policing isn't systemic racism, but an over-politicization. And he believes the gap between the police and the people isn't as big as it's portrayed to be.
Systemic politicization of the entire system. Everything's political now. Everything is racial now. But that's not coming from the people in the community or the police. It's coming from the politicians, both sides, Republican and Democrat.
Rogers says people need to educate themselves on what's going on and elect politicians who will serve the people, not their own political agenda. He urges Americans to have faith that things will turn around. Christina Kim, NTD News.
A 93-year-old Thai farmer throws a birthday feast for his 7 pet elephants. How much food do you need for an elephant feast?
Hem Hemrat fondly scrubs his elephants clean. The 93-year-old has been caring for his gentle giants for over 50 years and throwing them birthday feasts. Bananas, sugarcane, and watermelons are prepared so that all the elephants have to do is dig in. Riders guide the elephants into position, and the feast begins. It's over 2 tons of food. Hemrat says it's a way of saying thank you to his beloved animals. He used to work in the Thai tourism industry, but hasn't had any customers due to the pandemic. Now he keeps the elephants as pets. He says he lost a lot of money, but will keep his business because he loves elephants. He missed their collective birthday party last year, but felt determined to have one in 2021. He says he hopes everything returns to normal so the people in his town can have their jobs back, and the elephants too.